Hi, ladies and gentlemen, and this is Andy, and I have another question asking me now, saying that I should be telling the viewers who are not into trading too much, who are not that experienced into trading, about what happens if the SHF has to cover. They have to cover sometime down the road, right? One fine day. And if the case is that no retail, no apes are willing to sell to them, if the time comes that they want to cover, they have to cover, they must cover for some reason, and no apes, no retail are selling to them, then there is a lot of demand, there's no supply. What happens to the price? Price goes up. So that is why despite all the FUCKERIES and the trickeries and the tools, many tools that the SHF have, despite them being a collective groups, despite the retail not being a collective group, we're not, because each have our own individual decisions and minds and families and financial situations and likes and dislikes, okay? So apes and retail are not collective groups. Some apes like AMC more, some apes like GME more, some apes like both, some apes like other stocks, some retail like other stocks, okay? So yes, it's a fact that retail are not collective groups. Yes, it's a fact that SHF, they are a tightly knit collective groups with many tools at their disposals. Some HF are so powerful, they also have MM powers. HF a company, MM a company. They have same boss. Okay, you know which one I'm talking about. So, okay, now, come one fine day, they have to cover, they want to cover, they must cover for some reason, and if the retail do not sell, then they cannot cover. And their bidding price would just go up to the higher asking price. In every trade, there's a bid and an ask. If they match, that's trade, right? So, let's use simple numbers. For example, GME has 74 shares, or 80 shares. Okay, let's use round numbers. GME's float has 80 shares, and the SHF, since way back when, shorted and shorted and shorted and shorted and shorted and shorted. So maybe they shorted GME to, okay, let's say round numbers. They shorted GME to 160 shares. 80 were real shares, 80 were synthetic shares. Okay, we talked about it in our last video, synthetic shares. And so come one fine day, either because of many rules, new rules being in place, or either being this SHF, which shorted many other stocks, shorted US Treasury, shorted this and that, this and that, or it comes to a time when banking regulations and derivatives and everything has to move on into a new system. Then they must cover, or that they're forced to cover because of this new banking regulation, new regulations down the road, that one day they must all rewrite their contract. If that time comes, then it's a time that they're very likely must cover. Okay, when they must cover, retail, don't sell. ApeAndy, despite my financial stress, don't sell. Okay. And Jamie of Trade Spotting, don't sell. Ape Rocky Outcrop, brother of Jamie Trade Stopping, don't sell. Major Tom, don't sell. You watching the video, don't sell, okay? Sounds like brr, sounds like price going brr, okay. Now, for example, in the retail market, there's Major Dom, there's Jamie, there's Rocky Outcrop, there's you watching the video, and there is teeny weeny little ApeAndy. There are only 5 retail in the stock market. Who holds originally 80 shares of GME? SHF keeps shorting, and these 5 retails, assuming, just keep things simple, these 5 retail in the market, they bought those 80 shares, synthetic shares. So these 5 persons hold 80 plus 80, 160 shares of GME. And then comes the new regulations, new banking system, new tax system, new interest rate system, or whatever, okay, that is, and the SHF must change all their contracts or this and that. For whatever reasons, they must cover when they have to cover. And SHF wants to buy, Big C wants to buy, small m wants to buy, 72 wants to buy, SUS wants to buy, J Street wants to buy, okay. No, Archegos don't exist anymore, okay, sorry, Archegos. And these 5 persons says, don't sell, okay, don't sell. Then they would have to bid higher and bid higher and bid higher and bid higher, right? Until, let's say, this teeny weeny 5th guy, ApeAndy, okay, assuming ApeAndy due to financial stress, I decided to paper hand. Let's assume that due to my financial stress, financial situation, I'm trying to survive. Okay, I said, okay. Then, excuse me, then ApeAndy becomes paper hand. ApeAndy decides to sell. Okay, so say, for example, just for example, round numbers. ApeAndy decides to sell my, round numbers, okay, ApeAndy decides to sell my 20 shares of GME at a certain price, okay, at a certain price. I'm not going to say numbers here, okay. I decided to paper hand. I decided to sell my 20 shares of GME at a certain price. Then the SHF, they're bidding, right? They want to buy, they want to cover, they must cover, assuming there's a situation that forces them to cover. Then they will look to buy, and they will see, okay, there's a price over there. There's an asking price over there. That asking price has been set by ApeAndy. I want to sell my 20 shares at a certain price. But see, I wouldn't do that. What I would do, if I have only 20 shares of GME, I would sell 5 at a certain price, 5 at this price, 5 at this price, and 5 at this price, okay? Well, this is speaking for myself. I will not sell my whole lot at once. I would sell my whole lot on the way down, okay? Right. Or on the way up. It's up to you. You have to make up your own mind about your own exit strategy, okay? I'm speaking for myself. Then the SHF, when they cover it, there's a paper hand selling, then they cover. Buy those 5 shares, buy those 5 shares, buy those 5 shares, and buy those 5 shares. Okay. So even if there are paper hands, like paper hand ApeAndy, assuming I am paper hand, then 160 shares of GME shorted. How much did the SHF cover? Oh, they covered 20 shares. How much more did they have to cover? 160 short sold, right? 80 were real shares, borrowed common shares, and short sold. 80 were synthetic shares created out of thin air using legal means as specified in FINRA rules, synthetic short positions, and they shorted. Okay, so 160 shares were sold. Synthetic or not, these shares are shares bought. These shares are shares short, so they have to be covered. Correct. Now, so Paperhand ApeAndy sold 20 shares at different price levels, right? And the SHF covered 20 shares at different price levels. So does the other apes have to panic and say, "Oh, there's Paperhand. Don't worry about it." 160 shares short sold minus 20 shares. The SHF still must cover 140. My math is not that good. 160 shares, right? Oh, sorry. Yes, I was right. 160 shares short sold minus 20 is 140 shares left to cover. So they still have to cover. So the other four retail, Jamie at Trace Spotting, Rocky Outcrop, Major Tom, and you still decide to not sell. So even if ApeAndy Paper-handed, there are still 140 shares left to cover. Must cover. So the price will still keep going up. The price might stay for a while because this Paperhand ApeAndy sold 20 shares. The price might stay for a while, but then it still will go up later. So that's what happens. Okay, that's what happens when retail really does buy and hold strategy. Again, that is why, despite all the tools that SHF have, buy and hold strategy works. The only time when buy and hold strategy doesn't work is when too many paper hands sold. Now, imagine Jamie sold, Rocky Outcrop sold, Major Tom sold, and you sold. Then the SHF covered. That is the only time when buy and hold strategy doesn't work, okay? So, now, speaking of buy and hold strategy, you have to use only money that you can afford. This way, you could hold. If you use money that you cannot afford, if you maxed out, if your position was too large, and you have to pay rent, you have to pay kids' tuition, then you cannot hold that strongly, correct? That is why don't use more money than you can afford. And with the money that you can afford, don't go all in yet, because there will come a time when dip, and you will tell yourself, I should have waited. Another dip came, I should have waited. Another dip came, I should have waited. See? Okay. So there will be dips, and you will thank yourself for having reserves. Now, this is not investment advice. I'm only talking about my own personal strategy, okay? If it so happens that you watch the video, and if it so happens that the strategy you think is a good idea and that suits you, it is your decision to implement it, okay? Be strong, apes. Love, AMC and Jimmy. Buy and hold works. SHF has to cover. Well, you know why they have to cover? They have to cover to close their position, or else in their books their position would always be open. This short position would always be open. On the other side, when you buy a stock, you must sell it to make a profit, right? Or to make a loss. Same thing, SHF, when they short sell something, they must cover. Either cover at a higher price, making a loss, or cover at a lower price, making a profit for them. The trade would have to be closed. That is why the shorts must cover. Same thing. Same thing on the SHF's mind. The longs, the retail and the apes, one day they have to sell. SHF, will wait them out. The SHF, has the patience. I'm betting that the retail and the apes don't got the patience, don't have the patience. I've been saying this in many previous, much earlier videos. Patience is the name of the game. If you want to see this as a game. Patience is the name of the game. I'll say that a third time. Patience is the name of the game. Strong apes. Have patience, apes. Love you.